comes to Italian exotics, Alfa predates Lamborghini, Ferrari, and even Maserati, going all the way back to 1910. Actually, production started in 1906 as an Italian subsidy of the French company DUETTA, specifically the Società Anonima Italiana DUETTA. But sales were slow, and the factory was being shuttered by the end of 1909, which didn't go over well with some of the investors. So assets were purchased, and a new company was created, the Anonima Lombarda Fabbrica Automobili, or A.L.F.A, which roughly translates to the Anonymous Lombarda Automobile Factory. The first car being the torpedo-bodied 24-horsepower model, soon to be followed by the 4060 Grand Prix racing model, using a dual overhead cam quattro-valve twin-ignition four-cylinder. But in 1915, Alfa Romeo shifted production to military equipment for the war effort, and Nicola added his name to the car, making them Alfa Romeos. After the war, the company began investing in trains, and only returned to car production to complete unfinished cars that had sat since before the war. But soon regular production continued, and returning the company to motorsports with a number of talented young drivers that included Enzo Ferrari. Engines quickly expanded to 6 and 8 cylinders, becoming the dominant brand in motorsports, and winning the very first Grand Prix World Manufacturers Championship in 1925. Racing technology such as dual overhead cam quattro-valve Hemi heads found their way into street cars by 1928, a first for road-going cars. But both Romeo and Ferrari would leave the company by the end of the decade, and the government would take over. Under government control, there was an influx of money and a shift towards luxury cars, with touring models based on their successful sports cars. But with the Second World War, production once again shifted towards the war effort and aircraft engines. Bombing took its toll on the company, and they struggled to return to production after the war. So focus turned to smaller mass-produced cars built around their twin-cam four-cylinders, as well as using Romeo and Juliet as a marketing reference with the creation of the Giulietta. And specialty and motorsports models would carry on based on the production models. They would excel in their segment over the next few decades, continuing to add advanced features, such as four-wheel disc brakes on the '63 Giulia, as well as competing in sports car, touring, and GT series, winning their class championship in touring car and Trans Am in 1966, the same year that they replaced the Giulietta Spider with a new Spider, a Spider that would be its most recognized model for nearly the next 30 years, and it would star in the movie The Graduate, prompting a Graduate edition. That isn't to say they didn't have other successes. The A.L.F.A, or GTB in its sportier forms, would also do well and carry on for a long time. And there would continue to be more exotic limited production models as well. But still being under government control, A.L.F.A was used as a tool to create jobs in southern Italy, with the budget-oriented and highly successful Alfa Sud, or Southern Alfa. In 1977, they revived the Giulietta name after a dozen years on a car that was considered to be one of the most modern designs of the time. And the Spider continued to get regular updates that included variable valve timing in 1980 and electronic fuel injection in 1982, replacing the mechanical fuel injection introduced in 1969. 1985 saw the new Alfa 75 named to celebrate the company's 75th anniversary. But after 13 years of failing to make a profit under government control, the company was sold to Fiat in 1986. Already in the works, the 164 was introduced in 1987, sharing its platform with a number of other cars, including the Saab 9000. It was intended to take advantage of growing interest in European luxury cars, but in spite of better build quality, electronic issues caused continued reliability concerns. Restructuring in 1990 attempted to return Alfa to its roots, which would lead to a new GTV and Spider for 1995, finally replacing the Spider introduced in 1966 to much critical acclaim. A success that was followed in 2000 by the award-winning 147, which grabbed a bit of the hot hatch market with its GTA versions. Soon, Alfa would move to the premium platform, developed in conjunction with GM. Although GM didn't use it, Alfa would use it for such models as the 159, Brera, and the next generation Spider. In 2005, Alfa and Maserati were teamed up to share development as Fiat's sports and luxury division. And the new for 2006 156 would be one of Alfa's best-selling models and become the first car to use common rail fuel injection on a turbo diesel. 2007 saw the limited production 8C Competition, a car with a unique platform that shared some of its components with the Maserati Gran Turismo and had an engine built by Ferrari. And in spite of only 500 being made, it would be the first Alfa sold in the US in over a decade. The Giulietta name would be revived again in 2010 to replace the 147, a variant of which would be sold in the US as the Dodge Dart. The Spider was discontinued in 2010, but Alfa introduced a new small mid-engine sports car in 2014 as the 4C that was offered in a Spider form a year later. And once again, Alfa would introduce a new model to much acclaim in 2016 with the new Giulia, which was followed up a year later with the Stelvio, a Giulia-based SUV that set an SUV Nürburgring record. It is said that you are not a real car guy unless you have owned an Alfa at least once. Whether this is true or not, Alfa has a long history of passion and performance that should be remembered. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below and like and subscribe.